Welcome back to the Britannia Coin Company. We're a coin dealer based in Royal Wootton Bassett in the UK. Today we start World War I Wednesdays, where each week we're going to be looking at one of these sets. You may remember these because I found them in a collection hunt that we posted a few weeks ago, and it was heavily requested that we take a closer look at these sets. Today we're going to be starting with the year 2015. Each set contains 6 silver-proof £5 coins commemorating people and events during the First World War. So let's get started with 2015. Our first coin commemorates Albert Bull. On the reverse or tail side you can see the portrait of Albert Bull. This coin was designed by David Cornell, the same designer behind the NHS and Olympic Judo 50p's, restoration of the monarchy £5 coin, plus a number of other UK territories and world coins. There are 3 biplanes in the image, as he was a British fighter pilot during the First World War. Between the lettering above and below the coin there are poppies which are attached with barbed wire. The poppy has become synonymous with Remembrance Day. The Royal British Legion explains this, as where many battles took place during the First World War, the beautiful landscapes turned to mud, bleak and barren scenes where little or nothing could grow, with the notable exception of the poppy, which was immortalised in the poem by John McCrae titled In Flanders Field. Part of that poem reading, "In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row." These are tied together with barbed wire to symbolise the viciousness of war, but also the strength and resilience. There are edge inscriptions on these coins, and on this coin reads, "By far the best English flying man," which is a quotation from his renowned enemy Manfred von Richthofen, known as the Red Baron. Albert Bull himself was the UK's leading flying ace, with 44 victories at the time of his death. Born in 1896, and in 1915, aged just 19, he transferred to the Royal Flying Corps. By 1916 he was posted to No. 11 Squadron, where he flew in a number of missions, with his first victory taking down a German reconnaissance aircraft, becoming an ace and a balloon buster by taking out an observation balloon by the June. Later he was posted as a flight commander to No. 56 Squadron, as close to an elite unit for the time. His final mission was in May 1917, where he led his squadron and encountered German fighters, including one Lothar von Richthofen, the brother of the Red Baron. Although the Germans credited his demise to Richthofen, it is thought that this was propaganda, with a loss of control of his aircraft due to a mechanical fault being the most likely cause of his crash. His career was such a success and a much needed morale boost for the British that he couldn't walk the streets without people stopping him and congratulating for his hard work. He was awarded the Victoria Cross and promoted to captain posthumously, with his parents accepting the Victoria Cross award from King George V. The second coin in this set commemorates animals at war. This was designed by David Lawrence, who created a number of other coins for these sets, which we will see in future weeks. Additionally, the 2018 and 2019 Britannias and the Agatha Christie £2 coins, with many more designs under his belt. On the reverse is a horse moving munitions and a howitzer in the background. The edge inscription on this coin reads "Patient eyes, courageous hearts," and that's taken from Julian Grenfell's poem Into Battle. Horses had been used in cavalry for millennia, but by the time of the First World War there were some mechanised alternatives. However, horses were more pragmatic and reliable in getting through thick mud and troublesome terrain than their mechanised alternatives. Used for transportation of munitions and pulling cannons, they were also used for reconnaissance missions and carrying messages. At the start of the war, horses were used offensively to attack. However, their use became less pragmatic in continental Europe due to the advancements in artillery and the modern machine gun. Paired with the vulnerability of these creatures led to less offensive usage. By the end of the First World War, it was so hard to import more horses that even the well-supplied US Army was short of them. The key contribution to the war effort by horses is well documented in literature, art and plays, notably War Horse. From the air and land to the sea now, with our third coin of this set, which commemorates submarines. This was designed by Edwina Ellis, the same designer behind the Bridges £1 coin set, Stephen Hawking 50p and the London Underground Roundel £2 coin, just to name a few. You can see a submarine on the design with D4 on it. The edge inscription on this coin reads "In little boxes made of tin." This is again taken from a poem by Rudyard Kipling named The Trade. The D-class submarine was the Royal Navy's first submarine capable of operating beyond coastal waters, with only 8 of these completed before their successors, the much improved E-class submarines, were built in much larger numbers and became an integral part of the Royal Navy's submarine fleet. The HMS D4 sailed many missions from 1911 to 1919 when it was decommissioned. At almost 50 metres long and able to travel at 14 knots, it was the first to be fitted with weapons for offensive use. With 3 18-inch torpedo tubes and a 12-pound quick-fire gun, the D-class submarines cost between £79,000 and £89,000 a vessel, which in early 1900s was a vast investment. The use of submarines by the Germans, who called them Unterseeboots, commonly known as U-boats by the Allies, would ultimately put pressure on the USA to join the war effort, with the notable sinking of the Lusitania and Arabic, resulting in the loss of American lives, drawing the formerly neutral country to the aid of the Allies. Although a key part of maritime war strategy, some of the old guard in the Navy were not particularly fond of them, with Rear Admiral A.K. Wilson describing them as underhand, unfair, and damned un-English. Our fourth coin is this one here, commemorating Edith Cavell. This coin was again designed by David Cornell, the same designer behind Albert Bull's coin, which we looked at earlier. There are similarities in the design with the moving poppies and barbed wire. She was born in 1865 in Norfolk in England and moved to Brussels aged 25 to take up a position as a governess, although she visited home caring for her parents. She returned to her clinic and nursing school, which had been taken over by the Red Cross, and by 1914 Germans were occupying Brussels and she began to shelter British and Allied forces, helping them to travel to the Netherlands, which was neutral at the time. In addition to caring for wounded British and French forces hidden from the occupying army, she also assisted Belgium and French civilians of military age to hide from the Germans. In August 1915 she was arrested and charged with harbouring Allied forces. The man who betrayed her was later convicted in France as a collaborator to the German forces. After being held in prison for a grueling 10 weeks, she was court-martialed and sentenced to death, which caused public outcry as usually medical staff were exempt by the First Geneva Convention, although there was a clause which enabled the Germans to justify their death sentence. Even then, a neutral USA couldn't influence their decision to execute her, even with the might of their diplomatic pressure. Following her execution, her story was spread far and wide in newspapers, pamphlets, and books, used as propaganda, highlighting the barbaric nature of the execution of a woman in nursing. After the war, her body was one of only 3 that were repatriated to the UK. The other 2 being Charles Fryatt, another individual whose execution outraged the Allies, and the final being the unknown soldier. There is also a memorial to her near Trafalgar Square. We return to the sea with this next coin to commemorate the Merchant Navy. The coin is designed by David Rowlands, who also designed further coins in this collection, and the 2015 World War I Navy Centenary £2 coin. The design depicts a lone seaman with a North Sea trawler which saw common use in the Merchant Navy. The flag flying is the Red Ensign, which has been flown by British merchant and passenger ships since 1707. The edge inscription on this coin reads as "Sepulchred in the Harbour of the Deep," which is taken from the poem HMS Bulwark Britannia to her lost seaman by William Trend. The concept of the Merchant Navy was initially to register a log of shipping capacity able to be used in times of war, although it now refers to commercial shipping in the UK. During the First World War, the Merchant Navy was essential to the war effort, keeping supplies to the UK and areas of conflict flowing. Generally crewed by civilians with little or no military training, they became the target of German U-boat strikes. At the time, the German Navy had a policy of unrestricted warfare, with a loss of over 7.7 million tons of cargo and over 14,000 lives. Some members of the Merchant Navy were awarded the Victoria Cross, the highest honour in military service. One such recipient was Frederick Parslow, who was a master in the Merchant Navy aboard the vessel HM Horse Transport Anglo-Californian, which came under U-boat attack in July 1915. After ordering course changes to avoid attacks, eventually he gave the order to abandon ship, but before doing so was signalled by a Navy destroyer to hold out as long as possible to buy time for them to reach the ship and assist. He was killed on the bridge with his son taking over command, managing to hold out until the 2 destroyers arrived, forcing the U-boat to retreat, saving most of the cargo and just under 1,000 horses. Although at the time, members of the Merchant Navy were not eligible for the Victoria Cross, he was posthumously granted this honour. Our final coin of this 2015 set commemorates the Gallipoli Landings, designed by John Bergdahl, who also designed the 2008 Britannias, the Mary Rose, Shakespeare and Magna Carta £2 coins, as well as the Battle of Hastings 50p and the alternative obverse to the recent Platinum Jubilee 50p, just to name a few of this prolific designer's work. The design features a strategic map showing the naval invasion, but also below the challenging terrain of the peninsula. The edge inscription of this coin reads, "Heroes that shed their blood," planned to weaken the Ottoman Empire with the capture of the Turkish Straits and to open up the Ottoman capital Constantinople to naval bombardment. It soon became, as with many battles of this war, a terrible loss of lives, with over 500,000 dying on both sides throughout the campaign. Ultimately failing to achieve the underlying goals, the Allied forces withdrew from the stalemate of trench warfare, with mounting losses from multiple nations participating in the campaign. This was heralded as a great victory for the Ottoman Empire, but it became the precursor to the Turkish War of Independence, and 8 years later the Republic of Turkey was formed. Further afield, the anniversary is commemorated in Australia and New Zealand on the 25th of April as Anzac Day. As there were forces from Australia and New Zealand, it is tied to the emergence of both countries as independent states and remains to this day the most significant commemoration of military casualties and veterans throughout both nations. Well, that concludes our first video, a collection of poignant and beautifully crafted coins, and we'll return to the next year's set next Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. The significance and history behind each of these coin designs has been a fascinating read to delve into, and do let me know which is your favourite coin from this set. Personally, I'm drawn to the Animals at War design, there's just something to it. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, it's free to do and means you won't miss out on any of our future videos, such as the next one of this set. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram, where we post lots of pictures of our products. We're on Twitter and TikTok, we've got our shop on online store which you can check out, but I'll see you next time for more amazing coins from the Britannia Coin Company.